I installed the nanny cam on a Tuesday afternoon while my husband Greg was at work and our daughter Emma was at preschool. It was hidden inside a decorative clock on the bookshelf, positioned to capture most of the living room and part of the kitchen. The salesperson had assured me it was completely invisible and perfect for concerned parents. I wasn't a concerned parent, at least not in the way the salesperson assumed. I was a suspicious wife. For 3 months, Greg had been acting strange, coming home late, taking phone calls in the garage, showering immediately after work instead of relaxing on the couch like he usually did. He'd changed his phone passcode. He'd become protective of his laptop. And twice I'd smelled perfume on his collar that wasn't mine. When I confronted him, he had reasonable explanations for everything. The late nights were a new project at work. The phone calls were with difficult clients who needed privacy. The shower was because the office was stuffy. The perfume must have been from a coworker who hugged him goodbye. Everything had an explanation, but nothing felt true. Our nanny, Sophie, had been with us for 2 years. She was 26, fresh out of college with a degree in early childhood education. Emma adored her. She was patient, creative, dependable. She came 3 afternoons a week while I worked part-time as a dental hygienist, and Greg worked his regular 9 to 5 as a project manager. I trusted Sophie completely, or I had until I noticed the way Greg looked at her sometimes, the way he'd find excuses to be home when she was there, the way his whole demeanor changed when she walked in the room. So I installed the camera, not to catch Sophie doing something wrong with Emma, but to catch Greg doing something wrong with Sophie. I checked the footage every evening after everyone went to bed. For the first week, there was nothing. Sophie arrived, played with Emma, gave her lunch, did activities, and left. Professional, appropriate, exactly what we paid her for. Then came Thursday. I was at work doing a routine cleaning on a patient who wouldn't stop talking about her cruise. My phone was in my pocket, and I'd set up notifications for when the camera detected motion. Around 2 o'clock, my phone buzzed 3 times in rapid succession. I couldn't check it immediately. I had my hands in someone's mouth. But during my break, 15 minutes later, I pulled up the camera app. What I saw made my blood freeze. Greg was home. He wasn't supposed to be home. He'd said he had back-to-back meetings all afternoon. But there he was, walking into our living room at 1:47 p.m. Sophie was sitting on the couch with Emma, reading a picture book. She looked up when Greg entered, and her expression changed. Not guilty, not flirtatious, something else. Something I couldn't quite identify. Fear. I turned up the volume on my phone, pressing it close to my ear. "Emma, sweetie," Sophie said, her voice carefully calm, "why don't you go play in your room for a bit? I need to talk to your daddy." "But we're reading." "I know, honey. We'll finish it later. Go pick out another book for us, okay?" Emma, trusting and obedient, skipped down the hallway to her bedroom. The moment she was gone, Sophie stood up. "You can't keep doing this, Greg. We talked about this. I needed to see you." Greg's voice was different, softer, more vulnerable than I'd ever heard it. "Your wife is going to find out. Emma's going to notice. This has to stop." My heart was pounding. This was it. The confirmation. The affair I'd suspected. But then Greg did something I didn't expect. He sat down heavily on the couch and put his head in his hands. "I don't know what to do anymore, Sophie. I can't keep lying to everyone, then tell the truth. I can't. You know I can't. It would destroy everything." Sophie sat down beside him, maintaining a careful distance. "Secrets always come out eventually. It's better if they hear it from you." "Hear what?" Greg's voice broke. "That I've been living a lie for 7 years? That I married someone I'm not attracted to? That every day is just pretending?" The words hit me like physical blows. Not attracted to me. 7 years of pretending. "Greg," Sophie started, "I thought I could do it. I thought if I tried hard enough, if I forced myself, it would eventually feel real. But it doesn't. It never has. And now there's Emma. And I love her more than anything. But every time I look at Sarah, all I feel is guilt." Sarah. My name sounded wrong in his mouth, like he was talking about a stranger. "You need to talk to her," Sophie said gently. "She deserves to know." "Know what? That I'm gay? That I've been gay our entire marriage? That I married her because I was terrified of disappointing my family, and now I'm trapped in a life I never wanted?" The world stopped. Gay. Greg was gay. I stood in the break room of the dental office, phone pressed to my ear, watching my husband confess to our nanny that our entire marriage was a lie. "You're not trapped," Sophie was saying. "You have options, but you can't keep using me as your emotional support while lying to your wife. It's not fair to anyone." "I know, you're right. I don't know how to tell her. How do you tell someone you've wasted 7 years of their life?" I closed the app. I couldn't watch anymore. I made it through the rest of my shift on autopilot, polished teeth, made small talk, scheduled follow-ups, all while my mind replayed that conversation over and over. Greg was gay. Our marriage was a lie. He'd been confiding in Sophie, using her as a confidant while I suspected them of having an affair. The affair I'd imagined was almost easier to process than the truth. An affair could be fixed. Couples recovered from infidelity all the time. But this? How do you recover from discovering your spouse has never been attracted to you? That your entire relationship was built on his fear of being himself? I drove home in a fog. Emma was already in bed. Greg must have picked her up from preschool and done the evening routine. He was in the living room watching TV when I walked in. "Hey, babe. How was work?" His voice was normal, casual, like he hadn't spent the afternoon confessing his deepest secrets to our nanny. "Fine." I set my purse down, looking at him carefully, really looking at him for the first time in months. "Where were you this afternoon? I thought you had meetings." A flash of something crossed his face. Panic, maybe. Then it was gone, replaced by that easy smile. "Meetings got canceled. I came home to catch up on some reports." Another lie. Even now, more lies. "Did you see Sophie?" "Briefly. She was just leaving when I got here." I nodded slowly. I could confront him now, tell him I knew everything, demand an explanation. But something stopped me. Maybe I wasn't ready. Maybe I needed time to process what I'd learned before I destroyed everything. "I'm tired," I said. "I'm going to bed." "Already?" "It's only 8:30. Long day." I went to our bedroom and closed the door. Then I pulled out my phone and watched the footage again and again, looking for clues I'd missed, trying to understand how I'd been so blind. Over the next week, I watched every second of footage from the camera. I saw Greg come home early 3 more times. Each time, the same pattern. He'd send Emma away. He'd talk to Sophie. He'd cry. He'd confess how trapped he felt, how he was living a lie, how he didn't know how to escape without hurting everyone. Sophie never touched him inappropriately, never encouraged anything beyond friendship. She was, I realized, probably the only person in his life who knew the truth. The only person he could be honest with. I started noticing other things too. The way Greg tensed when I touched him. The way he avoided kissing me, always turning it into a quick peck. The way he made excuses to sleep on the couch more and more frequently. The way he looked at men in restaurants or in movies, a look I'd mistaken for casual observation, but now recognized as longing. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of me thinking I wasn't attractive enough, wasn't interesting enough, wasn't enough. And all along, it had nothing to do with me. He just didn't want women. Any women. I spent hours lying awake at night, furious and heartbroken in equal measure. Furious that he'd lied, that he'd let me believe I was the problem, that he'd married me knowing he couldn't love me the way a husband should. Heartbroken that the man I'd built a life with, had a child with, had never really been mine at all. But underneath the anger and hurt was something else, a strange kind of clarity. I understood suddenly why our sex life had always been perfunctory, why he'd never initiated, why it had felt like he was going through motions rather than experiencing pleasure, why after Emma was born, he'd seemed almost relieved when we stopped being intimate regularly. I understood why he worked so late, not because of an affair, but because coming home meant putting on the mask, playing the role of happy husband. I understood why he'd been so insistent on having Sophie as our nanny, not because he was attracted to her, but because she knew his secret. She was safe. 2 weeks after I first saw that footage, I made a decision. I couldn't keep living in this performance, and neither could Greg. I called Sophie and asked her to meet me at a coffee shop. She looked nervous when she arrived, like she suspected something. "Sarah, is everything okay?" "Is it about Emma?" "No, Emma's fine." I gestured for her to sit. "This is about Greg." Her face went pale. "I don't know what you—" "I know, Sophie. I know everything. I have a nanny cam." She closed her eyes. "Oh, God. I'm not angry with you. You didn't do anything wrong. But I need to understand. How long have you known?" Sophie took a shaky breath. About 6 months. He broke down one day after you left for work. Emma was napping. He just started crying and it all came out. He begged me not to tell anyone. He said he was trying to figure out what to do. And you've been covering for him, listening to him, being his confidant. I didn't know what else to do. He was in so much pain, Sarah. I felt sorry for him. But I also felt terrible for you. You deserve to know the truth. Why didn't you tell me? Because it wasn't my secret to tell. And because I was afraid. Afraid you'd think I'd encouraged it somehow. Afraid you'd fire me. Afraid I'd make everything worse. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. I should have told you. I know that now. I'm so sorry. I believed her. Sophie was 26, barely out of college. She'd been thrust into an impossible situation. I'm not firing you, I said, but I need you to do something for me. Anything. I need you to tell Greg that I know. Tonight when you see him, I want him to have time to prepare what he's going to say to me, because tomorrow we're having a conversation that's 7 years overdue. Sophie nodded, tears streaming down her face. For what it's worth, Sarah, I think he does love you, just not the way you deserve to be loved. That night, Greg didn't come home until after midnight. When he finally walked into our bedroom, I was sitting up in bed, awake. Sophie told you, he said. It wasn't a question. Actually, I already knew. I've been watching the Nanny cam for 2 weeks. He sank onto the edge of the bed, his whole body collapsing. How much did you see? Everything. Every confession, every breakdown, every time you came home early to talk to the one person who knows the truth about you. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. For what exactly? For being gay? For lying to me? For wasting 7 years of my life? All of it. For all of it. His voice cracked. I never meant to hurt you. I thought I could make it work. I thought if I tried hard enough, you can't make yourself attracted to women, Greg. That's not how it works. I know that now. But when I married you, I thought I could. My family is so religious. My dad told me when I was 16 that he'd rather have a dead son than a gay son. I was terrified, so I pushed it down. I dated women. I convinced myself it was just a phase. And then I met you. And you were so kind, so patient. And I thought, maybe with the right person, I could be normal. I'm not a cure for being gay, Greg. I'm a person who deserved to marry someone who actually wanted to be with her. I know. You're right. I ruined your life. You did, I said bluntly. But you also ruined your own. You've spent 7 years pretending to be someone you're not. Living a lie. Being miserable. And for what? To please a father who still criticizes everything you do? To maintain an image that makes you want to die inside? He looked up at me, surprised. You're not screaming at me. I was furious for the first 3 days. I wanted to scream, to throw things, to make you feel even a fraction of the pain I felt. But then I realized something. You're as much a victim of this as I am. Maybe more, because at least I get to start over as myself. You're still trapped in the closet, still living for everyone else's approval. What are we going to do? We're getting divorced. That's not negotiable. I won't spend another day in a marriage where my husband has to force himself to touch me. He nodded, tears running down his face. Emma. We'll figure out Emma together. We'll co-parent. We'll make sure she knows we both love her. But Greg, you need to promise me something. Anything. You need to get therapy. You need to work through whatever internalized shame is keeping you locked in this prison. And eventually, you need to come out. Not for me, but for you. Because living this lie is killing you. And Emma deserves a father who's actually present and happy, not one who's constantly pretending. My family will disown me. Then they don't deserve you. Your father's bigotry is his problem, not yours. You get one life, Greg. One. Are you really going to spend it living for people who can't accept who you are? We talked until dawn. About the divorce, about custody, about how to tell Emma in an age-appropriate way, about how to split assets, about everything except the 7 years we couldn't get back. The divorce took 9 months to finalize. It was remarkably amicable, considering. Greg moved into an apartment across town. We split custody 50-50. We told Emma that Mommy and Daddy still loved each other, but in a different way now, and that she'd have 2 homes where she was loved. She adjusted better than I expected. Children are resilient like that. Sophie stayed on as our nanny, splitting her time between both households. She'd been caught in the middle of our dysfunction, and somehow she'd navigated it with grace. Emma loved her, and both Greg and I trusted her. It made sense. A year after the divorce, Greg started therapy with an LGBTQ affirming counselor. 6 months after that, he came out to his family. His father disowned him exactly as he'd feared. His mother cried but eventually came around. His siblings were supportive. 2 years after the divorce, Greg introduced me to his boyfriend, Michael. They'd met at a support group for men coming out later in life. Michael was kind, funny, and patient with Emma. Watching Greg with him, relaxed, genuinely happy, free, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. Sadness for what we'd never had. Relief that he was finally living authentically. "Thank you," Greg said to me one day when we were doing an Emma handoff. "For what?" "For forcing me to face the truth. For not hating me. For letting me be part of Emma's life. For everything." "I didn't do it for you," I said honestly. "I did it for me and for Emma. But I'm glad you're happy now." "Are you? Happy, I mean?" I thought about it. I'd started dating again cautiously. I'd gone back to school to become a dental hygienist supervisor. I'd bought a small house that was entirely mine. I'd built a life that wasn't based on someone else's lie. "I'm getting there," I said. "It takes time to rebuild yourself after learning your whole marriage was a performance. But yeah, I'm getting there." 3 years after the divorce, I met someone. His name was David, and he was a teacher at Emma's elementary school. He was divorced too, with 2 kids of his own. He was attracted to me in a way that was obvious and genuine. He wanted to spend time with me, not because he was forcing himself, but because he actually enjoyed my company. It was like seeing color after living in black and white. We took it slow. I was cautious about introducing him to Emma, about blending families, about trusting again. But eventually, slowly, I let myself believe that maybe this time it was real. Emma asked me once, when she was 8, why Daddy had 2 homes. "Because sometimes people get married when they're not right for each other," I told her. "Daddy and I both love you so much, but we realized we were better as friends than as husband and wife." "But why? How do you explain sexuality to an 8-year-old? How do you tell your daughter that her father is gay without making it sound like something to hide or be ashamed of?" "Because Daddy's heart belongs with someone like Michael, and my heart belongs with someone like David. And that's okay. Love comes in all different forms." She thought about this. "So Daddy didn't do anything wrong?" "No, sweetie. Daddy didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes it takes people time to understand who they really are, and when they figure it out, they have to make brave choices. Like telling the truth?" "Exactly like telling the truth. I still have the Nanny cam footage saved on an encrypted drive. I don't watch it anymore, but I keep it as a reminder that truth is complicated, that people are complicated, that sometimes the thing you're most afraid of discovering isn't actually the worst thing at all. I thought I was catching my husband in an affair. What I caught instead was years of pain, denial, and self-hatred. And in a strange way, discovering that truth saved both of us. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 36 years old. I installed a nanny cam to catch my husband cheating, and instead I discovered he was gay. It ended my marriage, shattered my sense of reality, and forced me to rebuild my life from scratch. But it also freed both of us from a prison we were living in. Greg gets to be himself now, and I get to be with someone who actually wants to be with me. The truth ruined my family, but it also saved us. If you ever suspect something is wrong in your marriage, trust your instincts. But be prepared for the truth to be more complicated than you imagined. Sometimes the person you think is betraying you is actually betraying themselves. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for both of you is to let them go. Love isn't about holding on to something that never existed. It's about having the courage to face reality and build something real, even if it means starting over. The truth is painful, but living a lie is worse.